Hi students, this is GS-3, your third video during this series of 7 videos that I will be posting all about the GATE Symposium unit. So where you should be at now is you should have a topic selected. Remember, you need to propose your topic or your conflict topic on page 52 of your booklets. And by the way, the printers did not print the page numbers in your booklets. We are very sorry. So I hope that you guys looked at the table of contents and numbered all of your pages. I think most of your mentor teachers made you do that. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you number all of the pages 1 through 156, and you should look at the table of contents to make sure you know where to start, because the first page actually starts on the calendars and mentorship chapter. Another thing I want to mention is, so this is the GATE Symposium bookmark. So on the front is all of the templates, and we included even more templates just in case your teacher is using Google Classroom or Canvas or prefers you to turn things in digitally. The bolded ones are the most important because they are going to be ending up on your board. So things like the really big idea template, the information synthesis document template, and the relevant resolutions map template. These are also in your book, but we thought it would be nice for you to have a bookmark to use for your booklets and to see it easily. On the back of it is my YouTube channel, which is Deborah Park 8. Make sure you subscribe so I can have more subscribers. And you'll also see a link to the playlist. That playlist will be updated throughout the next couple of weeks, so there will be eventually 7 videos. This year we're doing a few things that are different, and I know that we have a lot more participants this year. So it's really important that you listen carefully to the directions, the tips and advice that I have for you, and watch all 7 videos. I guarantee that if you have a question, I will probably address it in one of those videos. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to be talking about the contents of Chapter 4, which starts on page 39 and goes until page 60. You've already done the first few pages probably because you were supposed to do that to figure out what your conflict or your topic is going to be. Now that you have a pretty good understanding of what you want to focus on, you don't have a driving question yet, and you may not really know your conflict really, but you know that you want to research something, like a topic that's interesting to you, right? So you're at that point where you need to start researching. So I'm going to tell you guys all about what scholarly research is. Scholarly research can be many different things. It can be an article from a newspaper, a magazine, a reputable publication. It can be a website, and most of these sources are there to inform the public. They're not really websites that sell an idea, persuade people, sell a product. They're websites that exist to inform people of important information and are fact-based. You don't have to use a website that's online, like a newspaper website like the New York Times or anything like that. You could also use other sources of media. For example, there are a lot of amazing informative podcasts, which are basically radio shows that inform you of important ideas and research. And there's also interviews and documentaries. You can find these on YouTube, even on Netflix. You can use these documentaries as part of one of the things that you're going to research for your article. So when we say article, we really mean just lots of sources. The one thing that you do need to be sure of, especially as you look at interviews and articles and especially documentaries, is that you need to make sure that you incorporate multiple perspectives, which is a very big component of research, right? So a lot of times documentaries or even articles will present one side of a story and may even present other sides as well. But if it's more towards one side, you want to find other articles or sources that are on the opposite side as well. You don't want to be biased. You don't want to come into your research knowing that you stand firmly on one side of the issue. You want to give the other side equal weight and an opportunity. So make sure that as you research your conflict, you're looking at both sides of the issue. So for example, if you're going to find 4 articles, if you're a level 1 student, I don't want you to find like 4 articles on one side of the conflict, right? You want to kind of balance it out, maybe 2 per side of the conflict. And if you're doing 9 to 12 articles as a level 2 student, then you also need to balance it out as well. So Try your best to have multiple perspectives in your research. Other things that you could research are primary sources. And if you learned in social studies, primary sources are first-hand accounts. So for example, the Library of Congress has amazing primary sources on the website where you can find journals of people who lived in times in historical eras in the past. There are many different things that you can find on the Library of Congress website, and there's a lot of amazing informational texts or websites that have like statistical information, like the US Census. There's all these worldwide organizations, humanitarian organizations that track data that are about things that are happening right now around the globe. You can find all of the information about scholarly sources on pages 46 and 47 of your booklet. The most important type of source that you're going to find or article you're going to be using, and we definitely want you to incorporate at least 1 or 2 of these if you are a level 1, and at least 3 to 4 if you are level 2. Are peer-reviewed journal articles. These are articles that are written by people who are getting a doctorate degree, so they're getting a PhD in a field that they are studying, and they are published by peer-reviewed journals. This means that other people in the same field of study will look at the article and approve of it and give it the go-ahead to be published. So these are not just like random isolated scholars who just post whatever they want and publish whatever they want. These are peer-reviewed articles. And most of these articles are about research studies that have very prevalent information that might be relevant to whatever your topic is. Something else that's important to note is that there are a few places that make you pay for these articles. We do not want you to pay anything. Remember, you want to find free resources. So on that page that I told you guys about, on page 47 and 46, I included things like the EBSCO host website, which has free full-text articles, and highwire.stanford.edu, which also has full-text articles that are all journal articles that are peer-reviewed by experts in the field. As I mentioned earlier, there is an awesome source that we created for you. It's a tool or a resource. You can find all of these templates and resources on the pink bookmark that we passed out. If you don't have a copy of that bookmark, just come and see me in room 308 and I will help you. I will give you an extra copy of the bookmark. So here are some bookmarks, and this was the links for research right here. So you have to type it in. But it's a super short URL, so when you type it in, you'll find that all of the resources just pop up like this. So a really great site to find peer-reviewed journal articles is EBSCO host. So if you click on EBSCO host, it'll go straight to the database. And a lot of the articles are free, but they might make you sign in. So we have a super secret password and username. So if you need to get that super secret username and password, you have to ask your teacher. Ms. Park will be giving your teacher the username and password. If your teacher doesn't have that paper, you can ask Ms. Salas or you can ask me. So you can come by my classroom anytime and ask me for the username and password, but it's super secret, so don't tell people. So make sure you come and see me if you need that password. It's only for certain articles, however. A lot of, like half of the articles here, you have complete access to. So, like for example, Green File, this free research database provides scholarly, government, and general interest sources covering the environmental effects of individuals, etc. So if you are doing your symposium topic on something that has to do with the environment or like green technology or recycling or global warming or anything like that, then this would be a great database. So there's different things here. There's historical digital archives, there's information about like technology, there's medical resources. So these are the free databases. How do you get to Google Scholar? It's super simple. Just click Google Scholar. It's actually scholar.google.com, I believe. So let's say you want to do yours on global warming politics, right? And so as you can see, they have PDFs of different sources. So this one's from 2009. Let's say you want to see something in the last 3 years or so, 4 years. then you can do a custom range, or you can click since 2014. So Rochester University, they in the Journal of Financial Economics, they already created an awesome source right here that will help you maybe if you want to do yours on how like global warming affects political decisions or public policy. So this is from 2014. When you see the little PDF thing, it means that the entire PDF is provided. So you want to focus on the ones where the entire PDF is provided. There's one here from 2016, which is a little bit newer. Okay. You also want to make sure you're looking at the correct area. So if you're focusing only on American politics, then you want to make sure that the study is focusing on American politics and global warming, not on a different country, unless you're looking at a global impact or something like that, or your topic is about like global policies about global warming. So make sure that you do take advantage of Google Scholar. It's a wonderful source. So remember, if you're a level 1 student, you're going to be finding 3 to 5 articles, and if you're a level 2 student, you're going to be finding 9 to 12 articles. This is just a rough approximation. It's not going to be like you have to have 5 if you are in level 1. If you want to have more, that's totally fine. In fact, a lot of students will find more articles as they keep going and solidify their driving question, because they realize that they need to find more information that pertains to some of the generalizations for conflict, which are here, right? Or they might realize that they have some other aspects that they have to have more information on because it relates more to their driving question and they hadn't thought of it before. So I have students find articles all the way up until like when they're making their trifold board, just to add some more pieces of information that will kind of round out all of their ideas. All right, so I had to talk about a few things. I did talk earlier about bias. Beware of biased sites. You would know when something is biased when you can see that there is an angle that the author is taking, or they want to sell you an idea or perspective. If you do happen to use these biased articles because it has to do with maybe your topic and you really, really need it, then find the other side of that conflict or situation so that you can balance it out by showing both perspectives. Remember the multiple perspectives thing. Something else I want to talk about is Wikipedia, because I always get questions where students ask me if they can use Wikipedia as one of their sources. Wikipedia is actually not a horrible source for just general research. In fact, most of the things on Wikipedia are cited. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom of any Wikipedia page, you'll see a bunch of blue hyperlinks. So all of these paragraphs of information actually come from reputable sites. So it's a great launching pad. So you can actually scroll down. So if you research your topic on Wikipedia, you can scroll all the way down and check out all of the blue hyperlinked sources. And you might find something there that's worth citing. But as a source itself, I don't think you should use Wikipedia. In fact, you're not going to be allowed to. So it's not going to count as any of your articles that you're going to be using for the article tag. So you can use Wikipedia for your own general research as a launching point and to kind of get familiarized with your topic, but you're not going to use it as an actual article. All right? Something else I want to talk about is timeliness. So a few students asked me if they can use articles from like 15 years ago. Here's the deal. It all matters everything is based on your topic. So for example, if you're doing social media and how it affects teens today, then you probably don't want to look up articles from 15 years ago, because a lot of the social media platforms that existed 15 years ago don't exist right now. And the ones that are very popular right now probably didn't exist 15 years ago. But there are other topics that you might need to look at articles from 15 years ago. For example, maybe you wanted to look up the terrorist attacks on 9/11. For that situation, you have to look up an article maybe that was written 16 years ago. And that's totally fine, because you need to keep it relevant to your topic. So it all depends on your topic and how timely and contemporary you need. Contemporary means like it's with the current times, how contemporary your topic is. All right? Okay, so let me look at my notes. Remember, for each of your articles, you must have an article tag. I'm going to go over exactly what an article tag is, and I'll even go over an example of an article tag that a student made last year. Something else you have to make sure of is to track your sources. So when you guys write your information on your information synthesis document, which is the thing you're going to print out and stick on your board, you want to make sure that you're citing your sources carefully. If you're using a quote from an expert, or even if you're paraphrasing their ideas, those ideas are not your words, and those quotes are not from you, right? So the proper thing to do is to cite where they're from. So this is called an in-text citation. So let me give you a few examples of that right now. As you can see in this example from last year, students cited evidence. So they have textual evidence right here, and so they explain who said it. His name was Angus Chen, and if you look at their works cited page, you would notice that Angus Chen is an author who penned an article in the New York Times. And so they're able to cite evidence and use people's words, but not plagiarize, because they are citing where they found it. You can also, instead of just writing the name of the author, you can say according to a study published in the New York Times and then give the date. You can say according to a research study conducted by Yale University in 2012, the researchers found that, and then you could do a paraphrase. There's many ways you can cite your evidence, but you do need to tell us where you got your evidence. You can't just use other people's words as your own, because that's called plagiarism, and we want to start really great scholarly habits here. And even though you're only in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, knowing how to correctly use evidence and cite it properly is going to have such great impacts on your learning as you get older, because this is something, it's a practice that all scholars, great scholars, do in high school and in college. In order to properly cite the sources, you need to make sure that you're keeping track of the sources. Now, you're going to be able to automatically do this by filling out those article tags, but I also suggest that you create a Google Doc and you save all your sources, and you share this doc with all your group members so that you can continuously update that doc with all of the sources you find. So that's what I mean by when I say level 1 only needs 3 to 5 and level 2 needs 9 to 12, but it's kind of a loose approximation, because a lot of students end up having way more articles by choice, because they're so interested in their topics and they keep adding more and more to their works cited page. Also, another reason why it's good to keep track of all your sources on a Google Doc is at the very end, right before you submit your trifold board for approval, you can actually print out that works cited page, stick it on the back of your trifold board, and you're already checking off one of the requirements, because on the back of your trifold board, you must have a bibliography or a works cited page. The next thing I want to talk about is the article tags. So for every single article or resource you find in your research process, you will be creating an article tag. This is what an article tag looks like. All right, so now let's talk about that article tag example. So I'm just going to switch this way so you can see it. There we go. So here's an example of a completed article tag. Before I show you that example, I'm going to show you the blank article tag. So it's 2 pages, front and back. So some of these questions are super easy to answer. You might have your conflict topic now, but not a driving question yet. Later on, when you do have your driving question, make sure you put your driving question in this box. Obviously, circle your grade, write your name, write your mentor teacher. And this is important here as well. You have to write which number this is. Your mentor teachers don't have a photographic memory, or at least I don't. So if you just show me your new article tags each time you see me, there's no way I would know if this is your 1st or your 5th article tag, or for the ones who try to get around the rules, if you're showing me the same exact article tag multiple times, right? So you do need to write down the number it is. So if it's your 2nd article tag or your 3rd, please write it right there. Write that citation, so just copy down the URL. If it's too long, just write down the website without the entire URL, but make sure you're copying and pasting that long URL on a Google Doc so you have it saved all the time, and that way it'll make your life much easier later when you have to print out your works cited page. Write the title of the article, the date of publication, what kind of article is it? Is it a podcast? Is it a video? Is it an organization, a government source, a scholarly source like a university source? Is it a news source like from the New York Times, or other? Write the name of the journalist or author who penned the article, so right here, or if it's a documentary, the director of the documentary. And you're also going to write the name of the publication. So if this was published in the Scientific American, then you're going to write that down. If it was published in National Geographic magazine, write that down. If it was in the CIA government fact book, write that down. If it was from the New York Times, write that down. So whatever the name of the company or the publication is, you're going to write that down. If it's a Stanford University publication, write Stanford University. All right, so now let's talk about the CRAB checker. CRAB stands for Context, Relevancy, Accuracy, and Bias, CRAB. There's a lot of CRAB, or the other word that has the P at the end, online, right? Because anyone could post anything online. There's fake news stories, there are false statistics, there are biased reports. There's so much online. There's millions upon millions of sites that you can find online. It's your job as a savvy scholar to be able to decipher which sources are reliable or not. So the way that you know reliability and credibility is through checking the CRAB of these sites. So if you go to the end of chapter 4, there's an entire PowerPoint presentation which your mentor teacher should go over with you, but if they don't, it's okay because you have the entire presentation here. Let me just change the configuration. This awesome presentation was created by Ms. Salas, and it basically goes through the entire process of determining whether or not a source that you find is worthy of using, okay, is worth using. So you're going to give every single article points. If they, and the points, the total score is 15, okay? So each of these 4 categories are worth different points. So context is worth 5 points, relevancy is worth 2, accuracy is worth 3, and bias is worth 5. So you need to go over all of these bullet points and give that particular article the amount of points it deserves. It says on the bottom, if your article receives 9 or above as its total score, then it's a great article to use. However, if your article receives an 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or a 0, please do not use that article. The worst thing is when you do all this work and then you realize after the teacher asks you, wait, where did you find this quote from? And then they look at it and it basically is a conspiracy theory website or a blog that a second grader made or a totally fake news website. If we see those sites used as your resources, then what does it do to you as a researcher and a scholar? You then lose credibility. Then people don't believe the findings that you've made, right? And it's your mentor teacher's job to help facilitate this and to make sure that you're not looking at the wrong sources. But it's also your responsibility because you have the tools right here by using the CRAB checker. So make sure you check the CRAB out of your articles, okay? So right here it says context. So go ahead and look at the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, it gives you kind of like a starter. It tells you, like for example, if you were going to have surgery, how would you choose your surgeon? It's the same exact thing. If you're doing your project on global warming, what are you going to look at for your sources, right? Don't you want somebody who is a professor of environmental science? Don't you want to look at university studies on global warming instead of just some random person's opinion that's totally made up out of their own mind, right? You want to find expert sources, okay? So CRAB means context, which means the background information. So basically, what does the author do? Is the author qualified to talk about this issue? Also, is the organization or the government institution or the university well respected? Does it actually exist? So you could actually Google it. If they call it like Cuckoo University, does that even exist, or is that a fake university, right? So you want to make sure of all of these things. Then we have relevancy. Relevancy is all about how appropriate the information is. So for example, if you want to see the impact of immigration in America, you wouldn't be looking at the impact of immigration to England from different countries in like the 1850s. That doesn't make sense, right? You want to make sure everything is relevant. Relevant is a really big deal this year, right? Relevant resolutions is our theme. So make sure that it makes sense with what you're looking at, okay? Also, you want to make sure that your information is relevant in terms of your topic. So like the time of your topic. So I mentioned earlier that if you're doing yours on the impact of social media on teenagers, you want to find articles that are written like this year or last, okay? Or maybe in the last 2 years or so, because social media is an ever-changing phenomenon. However, if you want to look at the impact of immigration over time, okay, then you want to definitely look at sources from the past. Or if you want to study the terrorist attack, like the 9/11 terrorist attack and how it impacts government decisions or policies or different things that have happened over the last 16 years, 17 years, then you want to look up articles from the past as well. So it depends on what your topic is, all right? Now we have accuracy and corroboration. So how accurate, how factual is your information? When it means it's corroborated, it means do other people say the same thing, or is it like is this person saying like something as fact, but everyone else doesn't agree with that person, right? In that situation, you would know that something's fishy here. So you want to make sure that the facts are corroborated. That means multiple sources agree on the same facts, and that way you know that those facts are real and that you can trust them. Another way to understand accuracy or to determine accuracy is to see if the author is citing their sources. So where they got their information. Are they citing university studies, peer-reviewed journal articles? Are they citing primary sources, things that people cannot dispute? If they're not citing anything and it seems like they're just doing a stream of consciousness of their own, which means they just talk about whatever they want that's in their mind, of their own ideas and their own opinions, like it's an editorial or just completely out of their own personal experiences or opinions that have nothing to do with fact, then it's a little bit, it's not something that you want to use for research, okay? You might use it as an observation, maybe for your student-led research component, but in terms of using facts and data and information for textual evidence, you want to steer away from using just people's own opinions, okay? But you can definitely use it for other things. Like I said earlier, if you're doing an observation on people's perceptions or things like that, you can definitely use those quotes, but that's a different aspect. That's for the student-led research component, which comes later. Last but not least is bias. I discussed this in length earlier in this video, but you really do need to make sure that you're looking at bias. So I've seen this is the biggest issue I see each year, where students are looking at articles that are written by newspaper sites that look so professional, but it takes maybe an adult's eye, like Ms. Park's eye or your mentor's eye, to know that these websites are not professional. Because if you look at the ads on the sites, or you look at their spin or twist on the issue, some of these websites are created by interest groups or groups that are very, very skewed on one side of the spectrum. And we're talking about both sides of the spectrum, okay? So you want to make sure that you find your sources from from publications and websites and organizations that strive to portray both sides of the story equally, instead of trying to convince you on one side or the other. One way you can see the difference between a biased and unbiased source is sometimes biased sources will have like really strong or dramatic tones where they will like invoke fear or skepticism or something that makes that kind of makes you persuaded to think a certain way. Another way to determine bias is by making sure that the company is not selling information to sell a product or to make a profit. They're not using emotion to appeal to people, and they're giving you more than one perspective on an issue. So even if they're discussing something that is very controversial, they're able to provide multiple dimensions of that issue. So they have like quotes from both sides of the issue, from even people who disagree with each other. So that's what CRAB stands for. All right, so you're going to do the CRAB chapter. So you go through all of the different bullet points right here and give the article points. So once again, if it scores a 9 or above, then you can keep going. If it doesn't, then you got to find a new article and throw away the article tag. I hope you guys don't do that, because that's wasting paper. So the whole point of this is because the whole point of doing this is, first of all, we want you guys to have excellent research for your GATE Symposium project, but there's another reason, and this affects your lives, okay? It's really important now that we read most of our information, our news, we get our entertainment, we do everything online, right? That's just where we get all of our knowledge from nowadays. So as consumers of digital technology, we need to be very smart in how we use it. So since now anyone, anywhere, even a little 7-year-old, could post anything online and make it look super professional, we need to be able to use our intelligence, our knowledge, and our skills to be able to figure out which sources and which websites and which organizations, publications, resources we should trust. Okay, so it's your job to gain these skills, and it's our job as your teachers to help you gain these skills in this day and age. So that's why we do the crab checker. The next part of the article tag asks you to check the author's purpose, check any that apply. So you can check one or more. This is an excellent way to practice kind of grasping what the purpose of everything you read is. And this is a great skill to have. Not only do you have to do this on, like tests like the MAP test or the SBAC test, where you have to be able to read a passage and quickly figure out what the author's purpose is, but it allows you to comprehend and understand and digest what you read, whether it's a poem or a book or an article or a passage in science class or a primary document in social studies. This is just good reading skills. So this article tag is not just here to help you guys do symposium well, but it's going to help you become better thinkers and readers as you get older and get into high school level reading and in college as well. Right here on the right side, it ensures that your article has to do with your topic. You can put in hashtags so you remember the key words and ideas. Summarize the article in 3 sentences. Summarizing something like a 5-page article in 3 sentences requires a lot of thinking. That's like higher level thinking. That's like synthesis right there. So that's your job. How can you grasp the main idea? Don't tell me an entire run through of every single detail of the article. That is not a summary. You're going to pick the 1, 2, or 3 most relevant GATE icons or imperatives that relate to your topic. So you're going to circle those. And this is going to help you later when you put all your information in the information synthesis document, and you do have to put the GATE icons on your trifold board and in your ISD. So you're going to need to know which one's related to that article. Next is the, and this part is where you explain like why you chose those GATE icons or imperatives. So if you only choose one, then you only have to write one. Okay, and you can just disregard the other rows. If you choose 3, like details, patterns, and parallel, then you have to explain those. And you don't have to use a whole paragraph. You can just write one quick sentence to make you remember why you chose that icon or imperative. Let's look at an example of a completed GATE Symposium article tag. So here we go. This student is a fake student that I made up. And it's an 8th grader, and her name is Selena Rodriguez, and she did hers on teen cyberbullying, and this is her first article tag. This is the URL here, and as we know, it's a .gov, so we know it's going to be credible. And the title of the author is What is Cyberbullying? It's a government source. It's by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The name of the publication is just stopbullying.gov. And we went through. If you can even, this is a real article, by the way. Okay, so if you look at the article, I went ahead and graded it, and it got a perfect 15 out of 15. Okay, so this is a credible article. Then here's the backside. So you just check things off. Okay, it's to report facts and to inform or explain. And then here are the generalizations that relate to the conflict topic. So conflict may be natural or man-made. Conflict is progressive. If you don't know what these generalizations are, if you go to page 50, which is a couple pages before this, you can see that I defined the generalizations a little more right here. You're also going to do some hashtags right here. So cyberbullying overview, helpful resources, definitions, hashtag. Summarize it in 3 to 5 sentences. I did that. Circle things that relate, the icons or imperatives. Sometimes you might have just one that relates, sometimes more. So I think language of the discipline and context really are related to this, and I explain why I chose language of the discipline and why I chose conflict. And then I'm done with the article tag. So you need to do one of these article tags for every single article you find. So that's how you do the article tag, everyone. Every single person needs to create an article tag for every single article. So when your mentor teacher meets with you, you can't say, oh, I don't know anything about this article because so-and-so found it and it's not the article I found. That should not be the situation. Every person in your group should read every article everyone finds, because you need to be well-versed in your topic. You can't depend on your partners to know more about your topic than you know about your topic. So everyone needs to be an expert on everything. All right, last but not least, I do want to talk about where you should be in the project by now. A lot of students think that they have to do all their research and then they write their driving question. Some other students might think they write their driving question first and then they do all their research. Both of those things are kind of not accurate. Here's why. You're going to be a little bit more knowledgeable about your topic as soon as you've read at least 2 to 3 articles in your research process. So actually halfway through your scholarly research, you should be drafting your driving question. So you don't want to have your driving question written in the beginning because you might realize your driving question is not relevant, or you want to tweak it because the research you find doesn't really align to it or relate to it completely. And you also don't want to write your driving question after you did all your research, because then there's nothing to answer, right? So what you want to do is you want to try to start your research. So start by finding 2 or 3 articles, and then you want to work with your group members to write the driving question, which is the next video. And then after you write your driving question, you want to find more articles that back up that have findings or research or information that is aligned and related to your driving question and helps try to answer the driving question. Another reason why it's important to continue the scholarly research even if after you're done with the driving question is because you might realize that you need more pieces of evidence for certain generalizations that you chose, or as you kind of put all your information together, you might see that there's some gaps missing or some perspectives missing, or maybe part of your survey or your interview or your student-led research brings in a new light into your issue or your research. So you might want to find some more articles that pertain to that. You're going to continue to find more articles as you keep going, all the way up until the point where you put all your information together in the information synthesis document. So you want to make sure you listen in on your teacher's deadlines, and they might make you have, your first 2 articles due a certain date and then the next 3 on a different date. But be open to the fact that you might have more articles than you intended because you choose to have that because you want to make your information really solid. Remember, this is a research project. Yes, the creativity part is awesome, and your oral presentation is what brings people to the exhibition, and all of your thinking and the gate icons, the driving question, all of this makes Symposium awesome. But the real meat of Symposium is great research, and that's what's going to drive your project forward and make you have an amazing presentation. So you want to make your research as solid as possible. You don't want to just find out the who, what, when, where, and why. You want to find out the how or the so what, or what's the impact, or what contributes to it. Where did it originate from? You want to go deeper in your research, right? So make sure your scholarly research is solid. If you have any questions, you can always come by my classroom and ask me, and you can definitely ask your mentor teachers because they are the experts as well. All right, good luck, scholars. Let's continue to work hard. Bye.